In this video, I'll discuss the brilliant monothematic sonata form used by Haydn in the finale of his Opus 74 No. 1 Quartet in C major. In the monothematic sonata form, the second theme is just a reworking of the original first theme. Mozart rarely composed monothematic sonata forms, favoring instead exposition sections with a rich diversity of thematic material. By contrast, Haydn's sonata forms are frequently monothematic, and the second themes are often only slightly altered transpositions of the opening themes. This quartet movement is remarkable because the opening theme returns as 4 separate contrasting variants in the exposition section alone, paradoxically creating a colorful palette of diverse thematic material, all stemming from the single original theme. Now listen to this opening theme, which, like its later variants, begins with this 4-note motif. The first variant occurs immediately, and despite its being a nearly identical melodic repetition of what we just heard, the new accompaniment and articulation give it a completely new character. I'm calling this the staccato variant. This is followed by the only passage of the movement that doesn't stem from the original theme, a transitional section that modulates from the original key of C major to the dominant key of G major, based on this downward leaping motif. In a typical sonata form, the second contrasting theme now appears in the newly established key. Instead, in this movement, the astonishing second variant appears, consisting of contrapuntal entries of the theme, paired first with this 16th note countersubject and then with additional countersubjects. I'm calling this whole passage the contrapuntal variant. The exposition section concludes with the final 2 variants. First, the third syncopated variant alternates between the middle instruments and first violin, with accents on the syncopated notes. This leads to the sudden, loud, fully voiced entrance of the final closing theme, the fourth rustic variant. Note the folk tune-like nature of the first violin part, the open-stringed drone bass in the cello, the double-stopped forzato in the first violin, and the amusing syncopation in the cello's drone bass. Haydn wastes no time in the development section, beginning immediately with the turbulent contrapuntal variant, rapidly cycling through multiple major and minor keys, before settling on an A minor statement of the syncopated variant. Now the syncopated variant is combined contrapuntally with a non-syncopated version of itself, with the notes falling on the strong beats of the measure. The return of the tonic at the beginning of the recapitulation section is often a momentous occasion in a sonata form, but notice the inconspicuous subtle return of the original theme at the end of this development section. In early Haydn and Mozart sonata forms, the recapitulation section is often a near-literal repetition of the exposition section, with only minor changes that allow the section to remain in the tonic instead of modulating to the dominant. Their mature sonata movements, by contrast, often completely rearrange the material from the exposition, develop it further, or recall material from the development section. This recapitulation section does all three of these. This time, the opening theme is no longer answered by the staccato variant, but instead the transitional section with the downward leaping motif reappears, adjusted so it no longer modulates to G major. The contrapuntal and syncopated variants now appear at their expected locations, but the syncopated variant is now expanded into a spectacular, rhythmically confusing passage that again contrapuntally combines the original syncopated variant with a non-syncopated version of itself, that instead has accents on the strong beats of the measure. This climactic moment occurs first over a dominant pedal tone in the cello, and subsequently with all four instruments involved. Now listen to the recapitulation section up to this point. Haydn follows what was arguably the zenith of the movement with a dramatic silence, after which the original theme quietly returns, combined with itself contrapuntally. The previously overlooked staccato variant now finally reappears, still piano, which makes the loud forzato double-stopped return of the rustic variant closing theme even more surprising and satisfying. This time the cello plays the same drone bass, but on its two lowest open strings, and the viola and second violin join in with the cello's riotous syncopations.